Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jared Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Not much, man. Livin, living.
You are living. And we have Eben Buxton. How you doing, man?
Hey, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into it. I'm going to let you get started. Just, basic introductory stuff, what you do for a living, how you train, and where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm a 38-year-old father of two girls, 1.5 and, almost 4. My wife's name's Ashley. We live in Eastern North Carolina. I'm active duty military, so I'm a Marine helicopter pilot, which doesn't suck. And so I train here in the garage. I'm on a hard to kill track. I think the first track I started on about 2.5 years ago was shred, but after one cycle moved to HDK and been HDK ever since. So love the programming, the variety. It's I've seen a lot of results that I feel good about with it. So I'm probably going to stick with it with HDK, continue to go strong with that for a little while.
That's awesome, man. And flying helicopters doesn't suck.
No.
Yeah, that's, my dad was a helicopter pilot. I don't know if that fact is well known, but he flew for a long time in the Army. So I have a special place in my heart for helicopters.
Yeah.
I mean, what is your garage gym setup?
So I guess I can walk you guys around and flip the camera. But so basically framed in some mats. I've got a rack, a tire in the corner, an old fire hose. I actually don't use those two things very much. Got the vest, some rings, crossover symmetry, which has been huge for rehabbing some shoulder injuries in the past.
Yeah.
Two full barbells, one center knurl, one no knurl, bench, matador, box, kettlebells, a sandbag, some bands, whiteboard, of course. Concept 2, I've had that since I started the garage gym. I actually rode in college too, so I felt like when I was initially setting up that I owed it somehow to my old crew coach to get a rowing machine. The Airdyne, I got it for less than $50. The computer didn't work, so I ended up putting just salt. Or a new air assault computer. And not pictured in here is a True Form, one of the older models. We've got it in the office. Picked that up when we lived in Arizona a couple years ago because Yuma, Arizona is ridiculously hot in the summer. So that probably about squares out the setup.
Nice, man.
Actually, the ever important wireless leaf blower. Huge.
Yeah, gotta have that.
Yeah,
definitely
essential.
It's basically it's just a glorified broom, but I use mine almost every day. Yeah. Cool, man. So what was the big reason behind starting a garage gym?
Well, I've always been into like sports growing up, playing in the woods, active. I played just about everything growing up, mostly swimming and baseball, and then rowing in college, and then being in the military. Marine Corps, as of like 10 years ago, has 2 different fitness tests we have to do. One in the first half of the year, and then a different one in the second half. So it's always easier to maintain a level of fitness than continue to re-attain. And using the on-base gyms, as both of you know personally and have talked about on the podcast, is distracting and annoying and painful to watch in some cases. So that kind of led me. It was I think 2013, right before I got married. I was living in San Diego, and Marine Corps, we can't like wear most of our uniforms off base. So if I'm going to the on-base gym before work, I'm carrying like 3 or 4 bags into work. And, that also is not enjoyable. I look at that as like a barrier to doing the workout. I would use it as an excuse sometimes. So I started researching, and then, actually my newly married wife, and that Christmas got me my first barbell. Was like the first thing I bought she bought me for the gym. And deployed. I came back from deployment middle of 2014. We moved to Virginia for a year, and that's when I pulled the trigger and just outfitted the gym with not everything that I just showed you, but a lot of it. And actually that deployment, I started reading a lot of your stuff, Jared, on EO3. Started using the free workouts that you were posting 5 days a week. And I think yeah.
Old school, yeah.
I like the idea, like you talked about, of being fast and strong, not, sacrificing the well-roundedness. And, I bought one man, one barbell, was doing that in Virginia, saw, a lot of results with that. Also from the 5 days a week, the WODs you were posting. And I think it was early 2015 when you stopped. I remember waking up in that week, I'm like, where are the workouts?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no new workout.
It was a rough transition.
Yeah. So I think what I ended up doing with my phone is going back through all of them and screenshotting. And I had probably over 100 of those workouts saved on that phone. I probably have them somewhere on like a computer. And so I just kept, OMOB and the WODs for, until summer of 2018 when I think summer of 18 when I pulled the trigger and became GGA for life. So, I guess that's the long answer.
That's awesome, man. You've been around. Yeah. That's kind of where even Joe got started, was with helping with those workouts.
I think, that was one of my first tasks, was just like posting those. And then eventually you're just like, yeah, we're doing away with that.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see, as far as a business model, giving out free programming may not, be a good long-term business practice.
Yeah, it was good though. It was really good practice. We got a lot of athletes and a lot of good results, and it's awesome that you've been around for that long. I had no idea, so that's cool, man. And what are some of your goals right now?
Well, I'd say, long-term or strategic is, I got 2 little girls, in the work that I do, a lot of young, especially young men, you see a lot of suicide, mental health issues, and that, not just military. That's just a cross section of the rest of the country, right? So I want to set them up for success. I want to demonstrate what a healthy lifestyle is. It's important to my wife Ashley and I is also to model, a good marriage, good man, good woman, and I think the physically fit, which that's probably not doing it justice, right? Because this is the whole package. Everything matters. Physical health is accompanied and interlaced with emotional, mental, and spiritual health. So modeling that for the girls is huge. And I also want to be around when they're, when they're grown up, when they have kids. It's great right now that, an almost 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old, it's good to be able to get down on the floor with them, pick them up. The other day I had both in my arms and walked up the stairs, and it was no issue, not tired, no pain. So that's I'd say long-term. The other aspect of it is, my mental and emotional, health and whatever, so much tied to that, and being a good husband for my wife. Well, if I'm balanced because of all those things, to include spiritually, then I'm being a better husband for her. So that's probably like the big picture philosophical side of it. Professionally, like I said, I got 2 fitness tests a year. I'm 38. Like I have to do something, otherwise I'm not going to pass those. And a little over 16 years now. I want to get to 20, maybe a few years beyond that. So I need to continue to maintain a level of fitness, and that's what's doing here. In the more kind of like immediate or midterm, one of the things, and I think when you started asking like, hey, email us your goals and stuff like that, I'd emailed you, Jared, and I'd put in there like, hey, listen, consistency and not getting injured. And when I was in Arizona, in the spring and the fall, there basically, because of work, there are 2-month periods in both those times where like working out with any kind of consistency or at all because of the work schedule was near impossible. So it was always hard you'd start to gain momentum in the summer or the winter time, and then boom, now I'm back into this period of time. So been in North Carolina, when I would build momentum, I ran into a few injuries, and I'd say it's really because of maybe not eating as clean. Not that I'm perfect now. Wasn't really supplementing with anything, and I wasn't doing the recovery stuff as much. So April, I started getting into it pretty good. I felt good. Injured a shoulder. So September timeframe, I'm committing to recovery. I'm committing to consistency, and that goal for that, the last cycle was 80% or more, get the Killing Comfort patch, which felt good about, was able to do that. Kind of the next step in that, especially after I've been listening to podcasts a lot more in the last couple of months, but even like the August, like the Murph Hooligans episode, as like, 2021, the end of it, there's some, big stuff coming up for the family, for me professionally. So I'm going to make 2021 a year of Murph as kind of the next step of the consistency, making a more long-term kind of goal. So, those are the newer things, and then maybe get a little bit faster on the mile time is maybe a smaller one in there. But consistency, the big thing. I think Chris Morgan talks about it a lot. I'm past the point of thinking that I'm going to be lifting ridiculous amounts of weight. That's not the goal. It's do the work, every day or almost every day, get through it and stay healthy and strong. So.
I love how layered that is, man, from the top down, because I think sometimes I feel like we talk to people and it can be polarizing. It can be either, I just want to be healthy for my family, or I'm going for this number on the deadlift. But I think what you did is kind of, like this reverse pyramid, if you will. You have this big picture of like healthy for my family, mentally balanced and everything, all the way down to, but I do have a few specific physical things. But if those don't happen, or you get derailed from work or whatever, you're still checking off the box of consistency and being there for your family and your long-term goals. So I think that that's really one of the healthiest views I've seen of goals, is because it can keep you focused on the short term, but if you lose those things for any whatever reason, you still have your big picture things to chase and keep you going. I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. It's been a while developing, and it's not that I'm saying I'm mature, I got it, but I've had a lot of good people, both professionally. I mean, listening to you guys on the podcast, the community, all that good input kind of helps with those things, because you take a little bit from this person, a little bit from that person, whether it's leader at work, church, a neighbor, something, a nugget that one of you guys passes talking about a study, or, as an example, I guess to speak to the community, I've been working on getting my wife into GGA. She loves running. But the last probably month, I've been giving her that sample no gear program, and she's been sprinkling it in, asking questions. And I was able to take Hannah Shrum's episode. So thanks to her and and Coach Ashley, because
like we planned.
Yeah. And Ashley came back. I'm like, I like downloaded onto her phone. I'm like, hey, next time you're driving to work, listen to this. And she came back. She's like, I really like that. I really relate to that, like worrying. about that. And the cool question that came out of it was, she's like, yeah, I'm enjoying the no gear. What happens when I get to the end of the 4 weeks? I'm like, you sign up for a garage gym athlete. She's like, well, are they going to be mad if I don't do it on the right day or whatever else? I'm like, no, you can do one workout or no workouts. They don't care. Do it at your pace. It's going to be fine, but it's good. It's like you get in the app, you do all this stuff. She's like, okay, that's kind of cool. Well, am I like stuck on that track? Or if later, if I want to add weights or something like that, can I do that? I'm like, my plan is working.
Yeah, she's already like, how do I eventually get to that hard to kill track? That's what those are the layered questions she has. Yeah. That's awesome.
So, nuggets like that help, I think, build into that, the long-term. But if you don't look long-term and figure out the in-between, I mean, that's a big elephant, the long-term stuff. So I feel like if you don't have the intermediary and the short stuff, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen, but having the long view, at least with perspective, Jared, like you talked about, if I miss today, that's not the end of the world because the long-term goal is still in reach.
Tell you what, you already have like half of customer support figured out already for us. So in case you want to fall back.
Yeah. That'd be great. I'll give you a call in a couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, I want to talk about rowing in college.
Oh yeah.
So I would just assume, being a rower, that you're pretty good at rowing. I mean, I would just love to hear. Do you crush 2,000 meter times or
no?
Okay.
I don't. So, I'm like average height. I like to consider myself 5'10". But if we really got in there, I'm probably, just shy of it by a few millimeters. One of the points I'm weaker on is a lot of that, or the more like kind of distance and things like that. Like I was a sprinter, swimming, baseball. I could run quickly. That'd be short bursts. I was also a catcher too. So early on, they kind of program you, especially watching like professional baseball, is like, if you're a catcher, you're going to have bad knees. You're not going to be a fast runner. So I probably let that get into my head a little bit too much. And so like running quickly, my 2K was never like impressive. And the machine and doing like a lot of the hardest workout, prepared for that one is a workout from college. So I've got kind of almost like this little mental block I'm working on with the rower and 2K, because just because you did it in college doesn't mean it still doesn't suck royally like non-rower. Yeah.
I don't think it ever gets easy no matter your background. Yeah, we have one guy, he's gone through the EO3 coaching course, but he was some sort of competitive rower. He's also massive. And he just he crushes 6 minute, 2K rows and stuff.
That's like Olympic times.
Yeah. I don't know if it's 6 flat, it's just in the sixes, and those aren't he's still kind of disappointed with himself sometimes when I've talked to him about those row times, and I'm just like, it's a level of aerobic capacity I just don't understand, and I don't think I'll ever have, and I probably need at least 5 more inches maybe.
Yes. So I had he ended up being one of my fraternity brothers, but he transferred back to Northern Virginia, which is where I'm originally from, where I went to college. From Wisconsin. He was scholarshiped, and a couple of his buddies were on the Olympic 8 that won the gold medal in Sydney. So he's 6'10". I remember him rowing like a 6:09.
Wow.
He had the best time and we were a club, we weren't NCAA or anything, but worst basketball player you've ever seen.
Right. You're 6'10". We got to find something for you. Rowing or basketball.
I mean, he was unbelievable. I mean, I guess another example, and this kind of probably feeds in well to the hardest workout, but our head coach is a guy named Bob Spousda, and I think he's 70, he's in his early 70s now. He looked like he was hunched over all the time, but it was just because the muscles on his back, along his spine, were so strong that it made him look like he was hunched over, the biggest quads ever. So at age 66, So there's an event called Crash Bees every year, which is like crazy rowers from all over. They have different categories. It's a bunch of ergs in a room, and it's a who does the fastest 2K time. So at age 66, Bob Spouser rode a 6:46 2K.
Wow.
And to give you an idea, like in
that's my goal.
Yeah. Yes.
Got 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why is in 1980, he was on the Olympic team, and he didn't get to go to the Olympics because the U.S. boycotted because they were in Moscow. And there were a couple years after that where he held the world record on the erg for 2K. I mean, the guy was a monster. And so his approach to rowing was like less about the technique and more about like just brute strength, which probably a good lead in for the hardest workout. But
let's go with that, man.
Yeah, it was during the winter. So we weren't on the water. And so I went to George Mason. We're out behind the field house, which is where we kept the ergs. And we did 6 rounds and started with a 1,000 meter. And there was no with you guys, hey, if we've got rounds of something like that or a run, we want to be consistent. You do want to push it, but we're looking for consistency. No, with him, it was like, you are going to destroy every one of these, whatever else. So 1,000 meters all out, you immediately got up. He claimed to invent this exercise called a butt up. But you essentially stand with your feet at about shoulder width apart. For the regular butt up, you put your palms next to your feet on the ground. So your butt is sticking way up in the air. And then you bend your knees to a 90-degree angle, pause, and then come back up. And there's another version called a preacher butt up, where you essentially have the back of your elbows on your knees and you're, holding your hands like you're praying. You do the same thing, legs straight, 90 degrees back up. And what's that?
It's basically body weight rowing. It seems like
yeah.
Don't have a rower, just do these.
It doesn't sound bad, but do 10 of them and really get the stretch in the hamstrings. They can be no joke. And if you do them with like elevated heels, it makes them even harder. So you get off the rower at 1,000. After 1,000, you get onto one of the blocks, do the inclined butt ups, 15 of them. You go grab these monster rubber sandbags that were like wider than your shoulders. You do 30 lunges, so 15 per leg. You take your sandbag over to a sled, like a wood sled that was 4x4 tracks, about 2.5 feet wide by like 4 feet long. Throw your bag on that, and it had a rope with a handle, and then you dragged backwards the length of the field house, that sled, handed it off to somebody else, waited. Basically the only rest in there was waiting for somebody else to bring you another sled, and then you ran, backwards ran the rest of the way back. So your quads are destroyed. And then not to mention there was this hill right behind the field house. You do a couple sprints up that, and that was one round. We did it 6 times. And I could barely walk back to my dorm room. It was insane. But I'm sure there's other workouts in there that I just don't think I've come close to, because that guy could program some brutal stuff. So
that sounds awful. And I know how the things that don't sound hard can be hard, like that butt up exercise. Like when we program 20 minutes of inchworms, and it's just an inchworm. It's like, well,
yeah, now.
Yeah, Jared, happens. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in H2K I've been like, oh, this looks pretty good. I think it happened a week or 2 ago. And then you're in it, and you're like, gee, what was I thinking? This is brutal.
Yeah. All right, man. In your opinion, what's the best activity for building mental toughness?
I think it's, I don't know. For me, it's probably doing a long run on the true form or a long row. Although generally speaking, I don't know if there's one thing that does it for me. I think it's picking something hard to do and doing it. Even if it's once a week. I think I got that from the mental toughness handbook or whatever it was called that you guys had around the same time. One Man, One Barbell was coming out. Mm-hmm. There's one of those. So I think I read in there is listen, just you program a workout, program something hard. And the other thing I think that is when I have been successful at doing those things, because I have failed at doing that stuff, is remove barriers up until that thing, So if the goal is doing like a program mental toughness thing that you've picked and outlined, like a cold shower or, whatever, it shouldn't be hard to get to the point where you have to make the decision to do it. An example, like if working out in the morning is the hard part for you, and I think for most people it is, and that's generally when I work out, is I get up at about 4:30. It wasn't always, not that it's easy, but it used to be a lot more difficult. So I either wear the clothes I'm going to work out in to bed, or I've got them rolled up next to my bed with, one pair, the two pairs of shoes if I need the lifter, socks. I write the workout on the whiteboard. So like getting out of bed is not the exercise and mental, or in this case, like the workout is the goal, right? So getting out of bed and doing everything to get to the workout shouldn't be the hard part. The hard part needs to be when I'm focused on doing whatever it is, whether it's an HTK workout, Murph, cold shower, whatever. I want to get to that specific program thing. I don't want to like have to wade through a minefield of excuses to get there, because they're already going to be there. Your brain is always going to work against you to try and get you not to do the hard thing. So set yourself up for success, because the goal is succeeding in doing the hard thing, not making it harder. It's probably already going to be hard enough.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I know if I'm going to work out in the morning, the simple act of laying my clothes out the night before increases the chance of me actually doing it by like a factor of 10. It's just because you could be laying in bed and all these excuses, like, well, I don't want to wake Emily up, rummaging through my drawers or something. So it's not even necessarily about you. It's just other excuses that are popping up, and those things would always come into my mind. But then, if I have them rolled up, ready to go, or like you said, sleep in the clothes, it's just like, okay, that's one less thing I have to worry about. If the water bottle's already filled up and ready to go, like the garage is clean, all these things, it just makes executing so much easier. I love that.
Yeah. One thing that, has kind of, it's like something you don't think is going to be bad, but it just keeps coming back, is like something that's like kind of an annoying little like mental toughness deal. And that's putting on like my heart rate monitor strap. I don't care how warm the water is coming out of the faucet. By the time you put it on the rubber and like strap it around you, it's cold every time. You're like, come on, like really?
I think technology between heart rate monitors and watches is a new mental toughness practice for most of us anyway. Just like especially if it's not working. It's
Yeah, the other day, I was putting together the workout in the Garmin app, and I kept sending it to my watch, and it's not showing up in my watch, but fortunately I did it the night before. So I had to do full reboots of everything, but I'm sitting there like, and Ashley's like, what are you doing? You're so pissed off over there. And I'm like, I was supposed to be asleep 15 minutes ago, but this stupid watch isn't working.
Dude, 100%. It took me a while to realize that you can only hold like so many workouts of the same activity. So you have to like delete old ones in order for new ones to show up. Oh my God. I got so pissed off at that stuff.
That was one of my troubleshooting steps.
Well, that's happened to me every day this week on the Airdyne, the Trueform, because I'm trying to, what my watch says when I'm running on the treadmill versus what the Trueform says is very off. And so you can calibrate it. I've already calibrated it once, and you have to run at least a mile. So I was like, okay, whatever. I'll throw a mile into my warm up the next couple of days to where I can calibrate this treadmill. And 3 days in a row, I've ran a mile for my warm up, an additional mile, not programmed, and the buttons don't work, and then it goes away, and then I'm like, what just happened? And so I just ran a mile. I mean, there's no real downside to running the mile, but the only reason I run it is to calibrate it. And so yesterday I was quite angry as the third time failed for me to calibrate that. But that's actually funny stuff.
I had something similar where the H2K, the four 10-minute run rows, whatever, with the 2 minute in between in zone 4. So I programmed it. That was when I was having the issues. I finally get into the watch, go to sleep. So I start running, and I'm outside running. It's cold, so I'm a little bit pissed off already. And I got like run gloves on, so it's like kind of harder to manipulate the watch. And I get to the end of the first 10 minutes and it doesn't give me like the beep countdown to stop. And I look down, it's still ticking. And I'm like, what the hell? So I stop it. I go in. Because of the frustration and the time, instead of 10 minutes, I had 4 blocks of 10 miles.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the middle of the street in my neighborhood in the dark, reprogramming the Garmin and resending to my phone with 3 10-mile blocks. And then fortunately, that one went quickly. And so then I'm like back running. I was so mad at myself.
Yeah, just got 30 miles real quick.
Yeah, no big deal.
All right, man. If you could only have one piece of equipment to train with for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Yeah, probably a month or two. I would have said kettlebell, but I'm actually going to go sandbag. I got one a couple months ago. The versatility, you can do barbell type work, you can do kettlebell type work, you can do a bunch of other weird stuff. And I'd say the other big part of it is if I travel, I just dump the sand in a bucket here in the garage for later. And then wherever I get to where I'm going, it costs like $10 for like 100 pounds of sand, or if I'm in a desert, which, there's a good chance of me going through if I'm traveling, I just scoop a bunch of sand into the bag and then I go to work. I can do that in like a hotel room. I could do that, outside, whatever. So sandbag is it.
So to your gym.
So I'm pretty, my gym is, or my garage is kind of a special place for me. Like I like building stuff with wood, like I built our kitchen table and some other stuff. So I'm very particular about how stuff is in here. I'm always looking for ways to be better. So I try and keep it pretty clean and pretty tight. I need to get rid of that tire and stuff, but probably a Scout Hyper would be it, because you can, you fold it up and lean against the wall. It doesn't take up as much room. If room is not an issue, or I had like a garage, like I did in Yuma with a lot of space, maybe the Donkey. But
Donkey's a good choice.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
All right, man. What is your best advice for all the garage gym athletes out there?
Yeah, I guess I'm cheating. I got kind of like 2 pieces. I talked a lot about goals. What was successful in the short term, which I think will, eventually feeds into long term, is just do the work. So, fitting that we're in February with the Green Dot Challenge, in that just what I did, especially the last 3 months, and what I've been consistent, is just turn the dot green. And I think what I've learned most recently, and I forget who it was injured, had to change their mindset, even if they could only do part of it. If I can't turn the dot green, whether it's injury, time, whatever, then turn it yellow. It's okay to do yellow. Yellow is fine. It's something. You are making progress toward a goal, or, doing the work for me was the goal, right? So if I do some of it, and if I can't do any of the work, do the recovery game, or do the warm up, or do one block, whatever it is. If you're doing something, that's progress. And that I think that's a mindset shift that has helped me a lot. And I know, I think I've seen a lot of people in the community talk about that, which leads into my next point is, the person we hear, or that we talk to, or talks to us the most, is ourselves. And, most of us all the time will not talk in a positive way to ourselves, or positive enough. So when that doesn't happen, or you're in a low spot, you lean into something like the community. Everything matters. The food you eat, just like the food you eat, the stuff you put into your head matters. What are you feeding? Feeding your attitude. What are you feeding your mindset? And the community is nothing but positivity. It's nothing but encouragement. So when you're in a low spot, and I wake up and I'm like, man, I can just feel it. That weight is going to be super heavy today. I don't feel like it. It's 29 degrees outside and I have to go run 4 blocks of, 4 10-minute blocks with not a lot of rest. I got to do this Murph. I just go into the Facebook group and I just start scrolling through what people are doing, because usually there's something positive, encouraging, or somebody's like, hey, this sucked, but on the backside, this is how I felt. Or if you're not sure about something, there's a question. I mean, you can always count on the three amigos of Garage Gym Athlete, and we have lots of good personalities. So this isn't discounting anybody else, but Chris Morgan, as like the monk advisor, stoic, 39 Murphs a week. I'm only at, I think this is week 6 for Murph. Like I can do one Murph. He's doing like 3. So I can probably do one. He's doing a vest. I'm not even doing a vest right now because, working on form, doing that. I can do that. Then you've got, Trampus, which, shout out to Trampus here. I know the closest thing to a sponsor you can probably get for Garage Gym Athlete is Elliman. Everybody's all in on the shirts, and he had a great podcast. But he's usually making funny comments in there, and then I'd say the Garage Gym spirit animal that is Ryan Caswell. It's always good for a laugh. I can actually think back to. This was a day, it was like one of those days where like it was grinding, it was on a weekend, or maybe it was the beginning of the week, and over the weekend he had posted like a video where he's squatting in cowboy boots and the short, like American flag shorts. He's like, just had to get some squats in real quick. And you're like, okay, I'm in. Monday, I'm in. So you lean into the community because, like you've said a lot of times, Jared, I believe it, everything matters. And that community is going to build you, reinforce you, help you. And, I think you talked about it on the Monday, this Monday's podcast is that's the number one selling point for Garage Gym Athlete. I mean, the programming is insanely good, but the community is just even like a little bit better than that. So, I guess the short answer to that, or the long road to the small house, is just do the work one day at a time, eat the elephant one bite at a time, and lean into the community, because both those things will help you be successful.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you sticking around the community, being a part of it, and going all the way back to the free workout days, man. I'm really glad that you've been around and stuck with us and all that we've been doing over the years. So I really appreciate you, and thanks for your time today.
Yeah, it was great having you guys on here, and look forward to more good podcasts and more good athlete interviews, because today's Thursday when we're recording this, so I know there's a new athlete interview, and on my way into work, I'll definitely be listening to it. So thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.